Hey guys, welcome back to Shift and Search. This is your host Rohit Anand. So, today we are going to be changing things up a bit and doing this video POV style. So make sure to give it a thumbs up. When thinking of compact MPVs, the name Ertiga inevitably comes to our mind. The name Ertiga is pretty self-explanatory and translates to 3 rows. The car was launched in 2012 and is on sale till date with an updated version and is going strong, which is great. The car is adored for the value it provides, like all Maruti cars, and was called the LUV, Life Utility Vehicle. The car was mainly focused for urban families who needed 3 rows and easy drivability. They had a lower price point than that of the ever so popular Toyota Innova. This made the Ertiga quite popular in our market. The car created a segment of its own, the compact MPV segment, which is itself a great feat. In fact, the car was even awarded as the Family Car of the Year of 2012. So today we are going to be taking a look at the Maruti Suzuki Ertiga VXi 2015. We have the car here in serene blue and is quite a unique color. We have the usual Maruti keys with a casing for protection. And the key works well even after years of usage. The car comes with both petrol and diesel engines, and we have here a rather compact 1400cc K14 Bean renowned petrol engine with an output of around 94 bhp, which we'll be talking all about in detail later in the video. Moving on to the exteriors of the car first, the car has a 3-piece chrome grille up front with the Suzuki badge right up at the center. We also have fog lamps inside their very own encapsulations. The headlights are quite large and extend from the front to the very sides of the car and has cues of a typical Maruti car. Front bearings have also been installed to prevent minor scratches. Now the car by default has 185/65 R15 tires, which we upgraded to a 195/65 R15, which are actually better suited to the overall looks of the car. We have the VVT logo, which stands for Variable Valve Timing, which essentially is to improve the performance and the efficiency of the engine. ORVMs are body colored, come with turn indicators and are quite big in size, and visibility is no issue at all. The car has well placed design creases all around and they do a great job making the car look good. Now taking a look at its side, we have side beadings to prevent scratches. We also have a crease running all the way along the side of the car, which are well placed. All the side pillars are blacked out, separating the roofline from the rest of the car and help improving the overall stance of the car. There are also well placed creases over the wheels, which make the car look cool while stiffening the portion. Moving over to the backside, the car's taillights are quite small and extend more to the side than towards the back, which I honestly don't know why. But anyways, we have a VXi badging and TCD badge, which is where we installed accessories for the car. The updated version of the car has a chrome piece up at the back, accentuating the size of the car. We have brake lights up at the top, whereas we do not have rear wiper nor rear defoggers, which is unfortunate. But we do have parking sensors, which is a very helpful thing when reversing the car. The car has a full-size spare tire and is located under the car and is relatively harder to reach than that of the traditional placement of a spare wheel. Opening up the boot, with all the rows up, we have 100-something liters of boot space and can really only hold small bags. But once the third row seats are folded, the boot is quite big and can hold a lot of luggage. But unfortunately, this does take a toll on the middle row passengers' legroom. But what helps is that these seats have 50-50 split, which is good. There is no loading lip and the boot is completely flat, which again is great. We have a storage under here where you can store all kinds of knickknacks, thus keeping the visible space clean. We have bottle holders and cubby holes on either sides, which are quite large and useful. 2 seat belts are also provided for safety. Closing the boot and heading to the middle row of seats, the door is large and opens wide, and hence getting in and out is easy. We have the car's name embossed, adding a touch of premiumness. The bench is large, and although there aren't much contours in the seats and it has only 2 headrests, it does provide good thigh support. We do have an armrest to enhance comfort. And this is the amount of legroom you'll get if you wish to fold all the third row seats. But when they're not folded, the middle seats are on rails and they can be moved according to your preference, thus enhancing legroom. Moving to the last row seats, using this lever that you can see here, we can see that the legroom is limited and you do sit in a knees up position, which is not great for longer rides and is best suited for short people and children. We also have reading lights at the back, which is quite useful. From here, as you can see, we have the rear air blowing vents which suck up and blow air from the front vents. And this works quite well. Let's finally head to the front and have a look. We have the reading lights up top, alongside side blinds, one of which has vanity mirror, whilst the other has service interval sticker. So, good job Maruti. All 4 windows are powered with a driver side auto function. Near that, we also have the controls for the rear view ORVMs with standard Maruti switches. Now that we are done with all that, let me tell you the rest as we drive. The car's interiors are made up of beige and brown and is mostly lighter in color. This gives a sense of airiness to the cabin, and you'll feel that the car is much bigger than it actually is, owing to the color choice and the height of the car. So, other than that, this is a typical Maruti cabin. It's made of hard plastics, quality levels are the same, and you will feel right at home if you've used a Maruti car before. The front seats are contoured and provide good overall support. Thigh support on offer is also great, and long distance travels will be no issue at all. The second and third row seats fold flat, whilst the second row seats are reclinable. But like I said, both the second and third row seats are benches and don't have much contours to them. So, if you're down with that, then it's all good. But I personally felt that body fatigue builds up over long distance travels. Headroom is no issue at all, as it can fit even 5 foot 10 inch people like me in the last row. The default music system in the car has CD and Bluetooth functions to it. It also supports aux and USB, which is great, and you really don't have to change it unless you really need a screen. Otherwise, the default music system even has an equalizer, and there's not much a standard user will be requiring more from a music system. The default speakers, on the other hand, aren't that powerful and were dull, and so I had to upgrade them to better ones to suit my needs. The steering has mounted audio controls and is very handy when driving. The air conditioner is quite good and does a good job cooling the entire car. But it does take a while when the car is loaded with people. But it is acceptable considering its engine's capacity. For safety, it has dual airbags, ABS and EBD, which is wonderful. The instrument cluster has analog dials for the speedo, tachometer, fuel levels and the engine temperature, and a digital unit for the range, average mileage and current mileage on offer. Dials and info are big and legible at all speeds. Getting to its drivability, since the car is made of a monocoque Swift based chassis, you sit low than in a traditional MPV, and this is almost like a car to drive and does not feel like an MPV at all. This in fact betters the overall appeal of the car. The steering wheel is light and the car is a breeze to drive within the city, and the small 5.2 meter turning radius just adds to it. The 185mm ground clearance is very helpful over bad patches of Indian roads. The car has MacPherson struts at the front and a torsion beam setup for the rear for the suspensions, which although do not completely filter out all undulations, they do a pretty good job. As far as the brakes go, we have discs at the front and drums at the rear as a cost-cutting measure, but they are quite effective. The car does have a wee bit of body roll when cornered hard, but it's nothing compared to traditional MPVs. The petrol K-series engine is, as we all know, refined and peppy, but linear, considering the size of the car. It does feel a bit sluggish when a sudden surge of power is required during quick overtaking sessions. gear shifts are no issue and are slick and don't have much throw to them. That and the light clutch makes city driving very easy. As far as for the mileage, I personally do not rev the engine over 2500 rpm, and this gives me about 14.8 kilometers per liter on average, which is great, especially considering that this is a petrol car. One point to note is that the car started developing squeaky noises in various places. Now, I'm not sure if this is the case in just my car, but I found it to be quite annoying. Service intervals are for every 10,000 kilometers when serviced in an authorized service center, and it costed me an average of rupees 6,000 for the regular service, which is economical as well. Overall, whilst having similar footprint of the Toyota Etios, the Ertiga is a well-packaged vehicle that is peppy, easy and car-like to drive, can seat 7 people when needed, and has Maruti's reliability, very affordable spares and maintenance, extensive network and incredible value. For all these purposes, it's a great car to own, there's no doubt in that. So that pretty much covers everything about the Ertiga. Hope you liked the video, leave a like if you did. Also comment your thoughts about this video. Thank you for watching, make sure to stay subscribed, see you in the next one.